So dear students, in our last class we had a discussion about the module 5, which is related to automotive emission control systems and emission standards. We have the discussion about the different air pollution pollutants, formation of photochemical smog and causes, automotive emission controls, controlling crankcase emissions, controlling evaporative emissions. Okay, right. So there will be basically three important areas from which where the pollutants are going to release. So one is related to the crankcase, and next will be fuel tank and carburetor, and the third will be like the exhaust system. Okay, in today's class we will go ahead with the remaining part of module 5. Okay, we'll start that is like we'll start with the exhaust gas recirculation. The higher combustion temperature, more than 1927 degrees centigrade, results in the formation of more nitrogen oxides. So if the temperature is also more, the NOx release will be more. So the exhaust gas recirculation or EGR system is used to lower the combustion temperature and hence to reduce NOx. So EGR, that is exhaust gas recirculation, is going to be used for the reduction of combustion temperature, so that the release of NOx will be low, that is nitrogen oxides. Okay, emission in exhaust gas. A small metered quantity, 6 to 13% of inert exhaust gas, is sent back into the intake manifold to reduce combustion temperature and formation of NOx. That is, we are going to send a small measured quantity of 6 to 13% of inert exhaust gas in intake manifold, so that the NOx rate will come down by reducing the temperature of the combustion. The exhaust gas is relatively at low temperature and absorbs heat from the much hotter combustion process, thereby reduces peak combustion temperature and hence formation of NOx. So how it is going to happen means, the exhaust gas is relatively at low temperature and absorbs heat from the much hotter combustion process, thereby reduces the peak combustion temperature and hence formation of the NOx will come down. The simplest form of EGR system is shown in figure 9.6. It consists of a passage which connects exhaust manifold and intake manifold. So it connects the passage from which connects exhaust manifold and intake manifold. Please refer the sketch. Okay, so it consists of a passage which connects exhaust manifold and intake manifold. Yeah, intake manifold is shown in the sketch and exhaust also. Okay, right. So how exactly it's going to work means, the EGR valve opens and closes the passage, and it consists of a spring-loaded diaphragm that forms a vacuum chamber at the top of the valve. So at the top of the valve there will be a diaphragm, and because of the diaphragm the vacuum is going to be created. A tube connects vacuum chamber and vacuum port in the throttle body as shown in figure. Tube connects vacuum chamber and vacuum port in the throttle body. In absence of vacuum, the diaphragm moves down due to spring action, thus closes the passage. In this situation, no exhaust gas recirculates, engine is idle and formation of NOx is minimum. So in the absence of vacuum, the diaphragm moves down due to spring action, thus closes the passage. So when the throttle opens, it moves past the vacuum port. This allows the intake manifold vacuum to act through the port and moves diaphragm up to open the valve. As the valve rises up, some exhaust gases passes through the valve in intake manifold. The exhaust gases mixes with air-fuel mixture and then enters into engine cylinders. This reduces combustion temperature and hence formation of NOx. This is how the EGR works. When the throttle valve is fully opened, a little vacuum exists as the vacuum port. And hence EGR valve is nearly closed. However, no EGR is needed due to rapid combustion and there is less time for NOx formation. In most of the engines, vacuum is applied to the EGR valve through a ported vacuum switch or thermal vacuum switch, that is TVS or TVS. It prevents EGR until engine temperature reaches 38 degrees centigrade. So whenever it is asked for EGR, you need to draw a neat sketch of EGR, which is shown in figure 9.6, and a little bit of explanation whatever we have discussed just now. That should be included. Okay, right. Next is the treating the exhaust gas. The exhaust gas is treated before it enters into the atmosphere to reduce amount of HC, CO and NOx, that is hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxide. Okay, the exhaust gas which is going to come out from the exhaust pipe, it can be treated well and then it is going to be released into the atmosphere. This is done by injecting fresh air into the exhaust system and by passing exhaust gas through a catalytic converter. So next will be an injection system, air injection system. That is, in this method, the fresh air is blown into the exhaust gases after they exit from combustion chamber. This provides additional oxygen to burn SC and CO coming out of cylinders and converts them into water and CO2 and reduces amount of these pollutants. Okay, air injection means we are going to add the fresh air into the exhaust gases which are going to come out from the combustion, so that whatever carbon monoxide or hydrocarbons are going to release, they can be converted into carbon dioxide and water. Okay. The air injection system consists of air pump. Please refer figure 9.7. Air pump, air switching and control valves, and the one-way check valves. When the engine is cold, the air pump pushes air through nozzles to the exhaust manifold. The nozzles are located opposite to exhaust ports, and hence O2 in the air helps to burn any HC and CO in exhaust gas in the exhaust manifold. When the engine warms up, ECM causes the air to pass through catalytic converter, where the HC and CO are converted into H2O and CO2. The check valve avoids backflow of the exhaust gases to the air pump in case of the backfire. During the deceleration, the bypass valve momentarily diverts air from air pump to the air cleaner instead of to the exhaust manifold. This avoids backfiring in the exhaust system. Next will be, we are going to discuss about the air aspiratory system. Some engines uses air aspiratory valve in place of air pump. So this is one-way check valve. The opening and closing of exhaust valve causes variation in the exhaust manifold pressure. when this exhaust pressure is below atmospheric, fresh air admits through air aspirator valve to the nozzles in the exhaust manifold. The air aspirator valve closes when exhaust valve opens, which causes pressure in the exhaust manifold to increase above atmospheric. So please refer figure 9.8. So next discussion is also very important, that is catalytic converter. The function of catalytic converter is to treat the exhaust gas to convert harmful pollutants into harmless gases. So what is the main function of the catalytic converter is, it is going to convert the exhaust gas which is containing some harmful pollutants into a harmless gases. All exhaust gases must pass through catalytic converter, which is located in the exhaust system. The catalytic converter consists of a material called catalyst, which causes a chemical change without entering into chemical reaction. Catalytic converter consists of a material called catalyst, which is going to cause the chemical change without entering into the chemical reaction. It makes two chemicals to react with each other, and hence reduces amount of HCCO and NOx in the exhaust gases. It consists of two different catalysts, one to treat HC and CO and another to treat NOx. Okay, the first catalyst promotes HC to unite with O2 to produce H2O and CO2. The second catalyst promotes CO to react with O2 and hence to release CO2. As this converter oxidizes HC and CO, it is known as oxidizing converter. The platinum and palladium are used as oxidizing catalysts. The catalyst used for NOx splits O2 and N2, and hence NOx becomes harmless N2 and O2. The converter is known as reducing converter, and metal rhodium is used for this purpose. Okay, a large surface area of catalytic converter is coated with catalyst. The coated surface area or substitute is in the form of bed of small beads or pellets or ceramic honeycomb. Usually honeycomb converter is round and pellet type converter is flat. Okay, honeycomb converter will be in the form of round shape, and the pellet type will be in the form of flat shape. The vehicles fitted with the catalytic converter in the exhaust system must use unleaded gasoline, otherwise lead in the gasoline coats the catalyst and makes the converter ineffective. The air fuel ratio for mixture must be stoichiometric ratio for effective working of the catalytic converter. Okay, so there may be a question, write a short notes on catalytic converter. So this is the content which you should write. Next will be dual bed and three-way catalytic converter. A dual bed catalytic converter consists of two pellet beds, one over the other, and are separated by an air chamber. The pellets coated with three-way catalyst to reduce NOx into N2 and O2 is provided on the upper bed. It also helps to oxidize HC and CO. The lower bed acts as two-way catalyst and oxidizes remaining HC and CO. So when the vehicle warms up, the air pump supplies secondary air to the air chamber to separate the upper and lower beds. So this is the related to the how exactly we are going to treat the exhaust gases so that the pollutants like SC, CO and NOx can be reduced before entering into the atmosphere. Okay, right. So next will be we are going to discuss about the emission standards. Okay, so this is the second part of module 5. Okay, as vehicle populations grow and cities become more congested, the allowable emissions from the engines have been lowered to maintain air quality in major cities. Like for example Delhi. Okay, right. So when the population is going to increase and population of the vehicles is going to increase, so the city get congested because of the pollutants which are going to release in the atmosphere. So like there will be like we were referring some data and work, no, there will be some standards you are saying. So emission standards means we are going to fix some standards. So whatever the emissions rate is going to release from an automobile, it should be maintained within the prescribed value of the standards. Okay, so the pollutants from vehicles cause several health problems, leads to formation of smog and affects environment. Many countries are aiming at achieving safe concentrations of these pollutants by regulating their level of emissions. Emission standards are requirements that set specific limits to the amount of pollutants that can be released into the environment. So these emission standards regulates pollutants released by automobiles, industry, power plants and diesel generators, etc. Generally, these standards regulate the emissions of nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxides, and particulate matter or soot. So carbon monoxide and volatile hydrocarbons. So these emission standards puts limits for conventional pollutants and regulate greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide. In USA, emission standards are managed by the Environmental Protection Agency. So in the state of California's emission standards are set to influence emission requirements that major automakers must meet. The European Union has set its own emission standards for all road vehicles, trains, etc. No standards apply to sea-going ships or aeroplanes. The European Union have introduced Euro 4 from 1/1/2008, introducing Euro 5 from 1/1/2010 and Euro 6 from 1/1/2014. Okay, many of the other countries also conform to the Euro 4 standards from January 2009. So in 1989, India introduced first Indian emissions regulations to limit idle emissions. From 2000, India started adopting European emission and fuel regulations. Still apply to 2 and 3 wheeled vehicles. All transport vehicles must have a fitness certificate that is renewed each year after the first 2 years of new vehicle registration. So on October 6, 2003, the National Auto Fuel Policy has been announced, which emphasizes a phased program for introducing Euro 2 to 4 emission and fuel regulations by 2010. The table 9.1 shows the implementation schedule of EU emission, that is Euro emission standards in India. Okay, right. So the question will be like write a short notes on the emission standards. Okay, then you need to write these particular tables also. Okay, right. So table 9.1 there will be like standard, that is India 2000, reference will be Euro 1, so dated in the year 2000, and the reason why it is going to implemented in nationwide. Okay, next we are in India, we are going to introduce BS2, that is Bharat Stage 2, which is the reference with the Euro 2. So it is implemented in the year 2001 in a specific region, like in the metropolitans like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata and Chennai. So same stage BS2 will implemented in the year 2003 and 4 in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, so Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Pune, Surat, Kanpur and Agra. So same BS2 again they have implemented in the year 2005 to 2004 throughout the nation, that is nationwide BS2 is implemented. So next we moved with BS3, that is the replica of Euro 3, or the reference by Euro 3, that is implemented in the year 2005 to 2004 in the metros like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Pune, Surat, Kanpur and Agra. So same BS3 is also implemented in the 2010 to 2010, that is it is going to be implemented in throughout the nation. So next comes BS4. Okay, BS4 is with the reference of Euro 4, so that is implemented in 2010 in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Pune, Surat, Kanpur and Agra. This table must be included whenever the discussion is going on for the implementation of European standards, that is Euro 1 and Euro 2, referring European standards and implementing in India as BS1, BS2, BS3, BS4. Now we are in BS6. Recently there was a news in the newspaper that all the BS4 vehicles must be stored before the end of March 2020. After that immediately BS6 is introduced. So you might have observed one advertisement related to Hyundai Activa, that is related to it is implemented with BS6 standards. Okay, right? So for 2 and 3 wheelers, Bharat BS2 Euro 2 was recommended from April 1, 2005, and Stage 3, that is Euro 3, was applied from April 1, 2008. So next what are the standards, like how much quantity of CO, SC and all will release. Okay, right? So there will be like a table 9.2 which is related to emission standards for diesel truck and bus engines, that is grams per kilowatt hour. Okay, right? So in the year 1992, so the release of CO will be 17.3 to 32.6, SC will be 2.7 to 3.7. No NOx release and no particular matter release will be there. In 1996 there will be CO will come down to 11.2 and SC will be 2.4 and NOx will be 14.4. So when the year 2000 Euro 1 was referred, so CO come down to now 4.5, SC come down to 1.1 and NOx come down to 8.0. Particulate matter is 0.36, okay, grams per kilowatt hour. Okay, in the year 2005 Euro 2, referring Euro 2, we have the CO come down to 4.0 and SC come down to 1.1 and NOx come down to 7.0 and PM come down to 0.15. So in the year 2010 Euro 3 was referenced, and this is going to give us CO as 2.1, HC come down to 0.66, NOx is 5.0 and PM is 0.1. So whereas the emission standards for light duty diesel vehicles, that is grams per kilometer, is in the year 1992 CO release was 17.3 to 32.6, HC was 2.7 to 3.7, SC plus NOx was there will be no release and particulate matter was also noted. 1996 we have the CO release to 5.0 to 9 and SC plus NOx will be 2.0 to 4.0. In the year the 2000 we have Euro 1 reference, that is 2.72 to 6.90 and SC plus NOx will be 0.97 to 1.70 and particulate matter will be 0.14 to 0.25. So in the year 2005 we have the reference Euro 2 that is CO will be 1.0 to 1.5, and SC plus NOx was 0.7 to 1.2, and particulate matter will be 0.08 to 0.17. So next is like we have the emission standards for light duty diesel engines. So these are the tables, okay, right? So please you refer this, okay, or in the table 9.4 we have the emission standards for light duty diesel engines, that is grams per kilowatt hour. That is 1992 CO release was 14, HC hydrocarbon release was 3.5, NOx was 18. 1996 we have CO is 11.2, hydrocarbon will be 2.4, and NOx will be 14.4. In the year 2000 we have Euro 1, that is CO will be 4.5, HC will be 1.1, and NOx will be 8.0, and particulate matter will be 0.36. Next, in the year 2005 Euro 2 will be 4.0 CO, and SC will be 1.1, NOx will be 7.0, and particulate matter will be 0.15. In the table 9.5 we have the emission standard for gasoline vehicles, okay. So that is GVW less than or equal to 3500 kg grams per kilometer. That is, we have in the 1991 CO was 14.3 to 27.1. So HC was 2 to 2.9. 1996 we have a CO as 8.68 to 12.4. SC plus NOx was 3.0 to 4.36. In the year 1998 we have CO as 4.34 to 6.20, and HC plus NOx was 1.5 to 2.18. So year 2000 we have reference Euro 1 is CO of 2.72 to 6.9, SC plus NOx was 0.97 to 1.70. So 2005 Euro 2 was 2.2 to 5.0 and 0.5 to 0.7. So wherever star mark is shown, it is saying it is related that catalytic converter fitted vehicles. So next will be table 9.6. We have the emission standards for three-wheel gasoline vehicles, that is grams per kilometer. Year 1991 we have CO 12 to 30, SC will be 8 to 12. 1996 we have 6.75, and SC plus NOx was 5.4. 2000 CO was 4 and SC plus NOx was 2. In 2005 we have BS2 2.25 to, and SC plus NOx was 2. So what is the overview of these emission norms in India is, in the year 1991 idle CO limits for gasoline vehicles and free acceleration smoke for diesel vehicles, mass emission norms for gasoline vehicles in the year 1992. So how the development has taken place in India, it is the overview of these emission standards. So in the 1992 the mass emission norms for diesel vehicles. So in the 1996 we have a revision of mass emission norms for gasoline and diesel vehicles, mandatory fitment of catalytic converter for cars in metros on unleaded gasoline. In the year 1998 we have cold start norms introduced. So 2000 we have the India 2000, it is equivalent to Euro 1 norms, modified IDC, that is Indian Driving Cycle Bharat BS2 norms for Delhi. So 2001 Bharat 2, that is equivalent to Euro 2 norms for all metros, emission norms for CNG and LPG vehicles. Okay, next will be in the year 2003 we have BS2. We have BS2 which is equivalent to Euro norms, that is Euro 2 norms, and for 11 major cities it was implemented. In the year 2005 from 1st April BS3 was implemented, which is equivalent to Euro 3 norms for 11 major cities in India. In the year 2010, Bharat staged 3 emission norms for four-wheelers for entire country, whereas BS4 equivalent to Euro 4 for 11 major cities. BS4 also has norms on OBD similar to Euro 3 but diluted. Catalytic converters have been instrumental in reducing emissions of harmful gases from vehicles since their inception in response to the US Clean Air Act of 1970. Regulated emissions have been reduced approximately one-third, while the number of cars on the road have more than doubled. So platinum, palladium and rhodium are essential components in automobile catalytic converters, reducing the engine out emissions by well over 90% and in some cases by over 99%. This is related to the module 5. Okay. So please refer all the content in the module 5, and in every video I have reminded you about the assignments. So please complete the assignments, and we are going to have a CIE1, that is as internal IE1 in the first week of May. So get ready for that also. Okay. So this syllabus we have already discussed, that is module 1 and module 4 first part, that is superchargers and turbochargers will be there for your IA1. So get ready for that, and also write the assignments and scan the copies and submit it to me. This I already texted also, so please do it with giving more priority for this, so that marks can be allocated for your assignments as well as I also marks will be allocated. So please do this, right? So all the best and study well. So okay, right, thank you.